share a little bit about like the practical day-to-day real time. Like what were the things that really helped you turn a corner and really helped you sink your roots in, mentally, physically, spiritually, so that you're in a much more solid place now with your recovery?
Absolutely. So at that point in my life, we were living in Tampa, Florida, where that's where I got sober at. And my wife, before we got married, wanted to move back to Atlanta. And I was about a year sober, and when we moved up there, and what really happened for me was the recovery community in Atlanta grabbed hold of me and wouldn't let go because they are amazing up there. And I found a group of guys, that
And
I
if it's ladies, stick with ladies.
exactly. And I
Yes.
found a group of guys that were like me, in the same situations that I was in, or there were some people that I wanted to be like, that had the family, that had the jobs, that had the things
Right.
that were going right, and they walked the walk and talked the talk. And I found a group of guys. I got a new sponsor, and I really dove deep into what recovery and community and all of that looked like, because I didn't know before. Like, I had a thought of what it looked like. I've done the steps, and I knew all that stuff. But when I got to Atlanta, I started going to men's workshops. I started deep diving into the traditions and into the steps, and really understanding what the community is and why it's so important to have a strong community base.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just changed my perception of my recovery. And then when I moved back down to Florida, because I'm back in Orlando now, I found the same group of guys a similar group of guys down here that hold me accountable, and we do things and we have fun.
I love that you're mentioning that, man. My journey was very similar. I was living in Utah, and at the time, the oxy and the black tar heroin was just like a plague in Utah. People are like, Utah, really? I thought everyone's Mormon and perfect and happy. I'm like,
those are the best places for
for real, man. So Utah was in like the top 3 to 5 for like worst states for like, I don't even know how many years back in the early 2000s. It was unbelievably bad. But I moved out of Utah and I moved to San Diego, and that's exactly the same with me, man. Just for sake of time, I just landed living with a couple that was in recovery. She had like 6 years, I think. He had 5 years at the time. So I lived with people in recovery. I went to a 7 a.m. meeting like 5-6 days out of the week. I was there pretty much every day. A lot of the mornings I went to an 8:30 meeting too. So like 2 meetings every morning. I immediately did the steps. I just said my whole life was drugs and alcohol. If I just give 50% of the amount of energy I gave to addiction, 60, like I don't even need to give 100%. If I just make this my focus for a while, like I know what this is going to lead me to. And if God and recovery doesn't work, well, then I know how to go out in a blaze of glory. But I was real. I was like, I'm going to do this. I've seen it work for other people. One of the other things, I'd sit in meetings and I would listen to like some old guy who's got 20 whatever years of recovery. And I would listen to his story, and, and I've been to hell and back, but I hear some stories and I'm like, yeah, my story's nowhere near as bad as yours. And I would listen to them tell their stories and I'm like, wait a minute, that old cheese ball, like went through all that and go, if he can do it, I can do it. I'm sitting there just totally judging people, but I'm like, wait a minute, if this old guy can do it, anybody can. But my whole life was what you said. It was community fellowship. It was recovery. It was, and I so desperately needed it, especially in concentrated doses for like the first year or two. I had to have that.
Oh, absolutely. And like you're saying, like I had a routine that I stuck with. Like every day I woke up at 5:30. I did my prayer meditation. If I didn't, like my wife will tell you, if I miss my routine, my day is messed up.
Dude.
Like, but
same with me.